Hey everyone, welcome to Fostering Growth. It's me. It's Laura, and I'm here with my good friend and coworker,
Ryan.
And yeah, today I finally got together with Ryan to record an episode, me and him. It's been a while that we've been planning this, and the time doesn't,
Yeah, it's been tougher. And just for reference, I'm the engineer.
Yes, he's the one that's behind editing everything.
I'm the guy behind the curtain of the magical world of Oz.
Oh no, poor Ryan and all the things he has to hear.
I'm used to it. It's okay. It's been very entertaining some of these episodes, but like I told you before, it's like even though I haven't met any of your friends or any of your guests, I feel like I know them now. Yeah. It's like when you were all like, my friend here, I was like, yeah. Oh, is that Daisy? Oh, is that Danny? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's good that you can see, their personalities, even if it's just through their voice and, the things that they say, because I know that on the ladies episode, that one went a little way off track.
Some of that stuff, I was just I was texting you, I was like, am I keeping that in there? Are we doing this? We're doing this, right? Okay, we're doing it, just making sure.
I mean, we try to be as, what do you say it, as...
PG-13?
I mean, especially PG-13. It's really hard to keep it PG-13 when you also want it to be as realistic as, we're already, in our late 20s.
100%.
It's easy to be like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just not over the top, but whatever. Mm-hmm. It works.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, sorry for the little beep here and there.
Nah. I have fun with it. I like authenticity, and that's what I was telling you. Is people... Especially nowadays, people are longing for authenticity and people who are being real. Yeah. They are starving for that because of what's been going out in the world. It's just like, please give me something that's not rehearsed.
Yeah,
I
mean, it's because especially with life, my life, it's not rehearsed.
No.
There's always things popping up, and I think that's why I also wanted to do the podcast, because I wanted to share, a lot of people think that my life is good or I have everything under control just because of how I am at work, right, or how I am, at school right now. Hopefully going back to school. But a lot of people, when I start talking to them, or I'll be like, oh my God, this happened. They get surprised. They're like, oh my God, I didn't know you were going through those things. Your personality is so bubbly, or you're always happy. And I'm like, oh, trust me, I'm not. I'm not always happy. But sometimes, especially in a work setting, I'm not just going to bring all my, things to work. And it affects, my work. It affects me thinking about everything that's happening on the outside, and it's I'm gonna eventually go back to that, so when I'm at work, I try to be a little bit more positive, a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more okay, I'm here, let me just get this done, be nice to people, and then once I step out, I'm like, okay, I gotta go back to my real world.
Right.
And once I started the podcast and started sharing these things, it made me realize that I know that I'm not alone. I know that other people have gone through things, and I would like them to share them too. It's easy how you say it, being authentic, and people know that life is hard. And some people are like, oh no, yeah, just stay positive and just do this and stick to this and you'll be fine.
All the cliche kind of things.
And with me, it's I'm trying, I'm trying to get organized. I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying to do this and that, but life hits me. And then I'm just like, oh God.
Well, it's the same with me. It's people look at me and they see, oh, I'm a goofball, I like to joke around, I'm laughing all the time and stuff like that. But man, like with you, whether it's someone being bubbly or me being, just full of laughter, but that's what's the outside. That's what I'm putting out because, that's a distraction. That's my distraction for what's going on behind the scenes with me because, it's sometimes, in my head, it's a bad freaking neighborhood, quoting, the late, great Chester.
Yeah.
It's and it's what I got to do to get through the day. And I don't know what the word is, but I'm very I don't want to say codependent, but I'm if someone, whoever I'm with, is having a bad day, no matter how good of a day I'm having, I instantly start getting brought down. Like, not that it's like their fault, but I get brought to that level. I'm like, oh, well, if you're not happy, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of find myself like, I'm always trying to like help people and like that, because I'm like, I don't want you to like feel sad, because I know what true sadness feels like, and I don't wish that on anybody. So it's like, that's why I'm like always like, no, we're doing this, like, you know what I mean? And whether if I'm joking around, like, that's distracting me, but I'm also hopefully like, if I'm making you smile, okay, well then whatever you might be going on, whatever's going on in your life, I know for a split second I got you to forget about it. You know, and that's how I kind of see. But you know, kind of like how everybody on Instagram, they keep posting the best versions of themselves, so everyone thinks their lives are perfect and all that. And they're like, look at me, but those people mostly who are like, they seem like they're the happiest, those are the people that are most depressed, because they just keep hiding behind Instagram, and they kind of keep telling themselves, look, I am happy, look at all these, look, I'm smiling, yeah, I'm at the beach, you know, YOLO and all that. But really, it's like, could you afford to be at the beach that day?
Yeah.
Is there a bigger price than you're letting on? You know, and are you ever going to share that, or are you being honest with yourself? You know, so.
Yeah, there's times that, like, I've seen, especially, like, some of my friends that share, you know, for example, one of my friends, I don't want to name any names now, but one of my friends, you know, that has, like, been at, you know, the hospital, and they share that part of their story in their stories, and some people might see it like, oh my God, they're looking for attention, but then other people are like, oh, this is how you communicate with, like, friends and family. Like, maybe that person doesn't want to text every single friend like, hey, you know, I'm at the hospital, or this is happening with me,
right?
And then, you know, they share that, and then people start asking like, oh my God, are you okay, like, what's going on? And I feel that they usually just share, you know, those small moments, or sometimes even big moments,
right?
And it's like, okay, cool, you know, some people share, some people don't. I personally sometimes want to share more deep things, but then I have that in the back of my head of like, well, I don't know if I want people asking about it, or I don't know, you know, who I want to share it with.
Right.
With that Instagram having those close friend things, like, I haven't really, like, played around with that, but I have seen that some of my friends have me on their close friends list, and then, you know, they share more personal moments, and I'm like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. You know, you get to choose who you want to share it with. Right.
You get to kind of filter who you're trying to reach.
Yeah.
And that could be a very powerful thing, because we all have our... There's your friends, but are they really your friends, or your acquaintances? They're maybe your work friends or whatever. And then you have your tight circle. Everyone has this circle. It could be one person. It could be 3 people. And using that feature, maybe that's your tight circle, and it helps you gauge versus... So it's not just, you know, one thing or another. It's either all or nothing. It's like, okay, either the world needs to know that I'm in the hospital, or something bad is happening, or just the people I trust most.
Exactly.
So.
And I think that's like a really, one of the things, like I said, I haven't touched the close friends button. I think I only have one close friend on there, Daniela. But because I use that for when I record something and I save it to my story, then I can save it as a full video. That's what I use. And then there's times that I'm like, Daniela, here you go. Here's for your entertainment. I'm just going to post it on there, but you're the only one that can see it. And I guess it never, you know, clicked until recently, when I started seeing that difference between when they, you know, regular post and then close friend posts. And I'm like, maybe I can use that close friends tab and, you know, add a couple of people that I believe are close, and then maybe share a little bit extra, like maybe a day that I'm not feeling well, you know, I have I don't want to say like a bad day, more of a cloudy day.
Yeah.
And then that way it kind of reaches them, and it's like they reach out to me, and I don't feel like I'm showing the world how sad or depressed I am, but it's more of like, I want to share this, but I don't want to share it with the world, so I'll share it with, like, close friends. And that's one of the new things that I've been trying out, you know, having an outlet, but not feeling ashamed, because that's what I feel. Like, I feel ashamed even though I shouldn't, of, like, sharing it with everybody, and then people are like, oh my God, like, she's going through this. And it's like, well, I don't know. It's not that I'm going through it, but it's just like, sometimes you just want to express it.
Right. Well, outlets are absolutely essential. And, you know, it's time that mental health, reaching out, stop being so, you know, damn taboo. Because it is, right? like if someone has broken their arm and you see that person, you're like, oh, what happened? Are you okay? You know, like, and everything. But then we're afraid with the mental health part, and part of that is it's deeper than that, okay? And unfortunately, there are people out there that do lash out and just say, oh, get over it. It's like naturally you're like, get over it. You know, it's not that hard. How badly do you really get? But here's the thing. Part of that is because those people who are saying that, I truly believe they're just lashing out and reflecting what they feel. Because they feel insecure. And they're like, they see themselves and it scares them. And it's a hard thing to look into yourself. And I mean really look into yourself. It's a big step, especially if you've never done that. And it's you have to be honest with yourself. So the thing is like I used to get like kind of disgusted when people would do that, would lash out, and I'm just like, what is wrong with you? But at the same time, I'm like, oh, that's just telling me you're going through something.
Yeah.
And I don't care who you are. You could be, you know, some, you know, bad to the bone cholo. You could be anything else. You know, maybe you'll never show anybody, your friends or whoever, like you're going through a tough time, but your mind, you can't escape your mind.
Yeah.
And it's those moments where you wake up and before you go say hi to your kids or go say hi to your mom, and you just sit there and look at the floor and you start thinking about your life. Though everyone goes through that. And that's okay. And people need to know that. And so it's like, that's like one of my biggest goals. It's like, stop the taboo. Like mental health is a serious thing, and maybe even more important than your physical health. You know, kudos to like the NBA stars like DeMar DeRozan or Kevin Love, who's spoken out and admitted, they're like, yeah, I have really bad mental health issues, you know, and stuff like that. And these guys are champions and stuff like that. And it's like, and I was like so happy that they did that, because it's like now all the fans could be like, oh, like it's okay.
Yeah, and it's I think it's a really big and great thing to normalize mental, you know, health problems. Like everybody goes through it. Everybody goes through something, and it's harder to hide it instead of being able to express it, you know, and then know that other people are going through the same thing or can help you and be like, oh, I've been through it similar, or even just to listen or to be support. You know, not everybody has the answer. Nobody's looking for answers all the time. I feel like sometimes I talk to my friends and I tell them what goes on in my life, and sometimes they don't know what to say, and I'm like, it's okay. You don't have to solve my problems. It's just nice to like have an outlet or like talk about it. Yeah. And I feel like even with this podcast as well, like I know I can open myself a little bit more and talk about, you know, experiences from before or even now what I'm going through, and then kind of connect with other, you know, people, especially when I want to target like foster youth, trying to help them out, you know, trying to tell them like, hey, like I went through this and look at me now. I might not be a millionaire, a big star, or everything that I expected to be at this age, but I'm still here. I'm still, you know, fighting. I'm still surviving. And I think even with doing, you know, the website and having like a blog, like I've been trying to share my experiences through there, and not necessarily like a journal of like, oh yeah, today I did this. It's more of like, I went through this and this is what happened and this is my experience, and I hope it helps. And hopefully that also makes people want to reach out, you know, to the podcast and share their own experiences as well. Because that's one of the things that I've been trying to, you know, have a, would you call it like collaborate into, or no? I want to be able to open the mind of everybody to be like, this is mental health, not just for me, but like for everybody else, of like, you know, other people are going through this, and it can also connect to other listeners, you know, so having people write in, you know, or even to express anonymously, it doesn't have to be
interactive.
Yes.
So and it's a very good idea, because honestly, it's like, one, it's helping you because you're able to have your outlet and put out there, put whatever you're going through out there. But, you know, it's like, it gives an opening to people out there listening, a way to have their own outlet with no strings attached, no fear of judgment. Because, look, we're most likely never going to meet them face to face. Like, it's okay to just be free. It's just like, just let it out. We're not here to judge you. You know, I mean, we're here to help. We're either here to maybe offer up a solution, or we're here to just be an ear. You know,
listen.
hey, this is what's going on. I did this. This is how I reacted. Has anyone else dealt with this? And sometimes that is a big deal. But I think the word I would like to circle, at least tonight, is outlet. Okay, because so many people don't give themselves outlets, and that is like 99% of the problem.
I am like the queen of bottling up emotions. Like, I store up until I'm like probably this full, and then I just scream into a pillow for like 20 minutes after I cannot hold it in anymore. And I know that's bad, and I know I need an outlet.
Well, there's an outlet. Your pillow's the outlet. Okay?
Little pillow.
The important thing is that you got it out. Okay? So, look, I'm going to... Who knows who's going to be listening to this, but I'm going to throw myself out there. Okay? A couple days ago, I was like... I noticed, I was like, man, I'm getting a little more irritable. Like, I've been a little bit more irritable lately, like, and less thing. I'm like, you know what? I haven't hit my punching bag in a while. And I was just like, I should do that. I have some time. You know, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to work on technique or whatever. So I put on some music, and I'm like, okay, we're just jabbing. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, next song. Next thing you know, I'm starting to hit a little harder. Okay, next song.
The music starts getting more intense.
It gets more intense, all right? And then next thing I know, I am beating the hell out of this damn thing. And I'm just going, and I realized that I am tapped into this feeling or this mode where I've now, like, hit raw Ryan. You know what I mean? And something in me just went, you know what? Like, something, like, just clicked and was just like, you know what? You've been keeping some stuff hid under the hood. Yeah. And we're about to peel you open like an onion. And so I just went, and I just started going. I bumped up the music, and I just started going as hard to the point where my body did not want to do it anymore. Yeah. But I just kept pushing, and my arms were like lead. And then I'm sweating, and then I was like, okay, I can't lift my arms anymore. I was like, you know what, though? We're here. We're doing this. What else can I get out? Oh my God. Okay, and then I put on the next song, and next thing I know, you know, I'm an artist, so I start singing along with these songs, and I'm just like, I'm putting on some Linkin Park, and I'm just literally like puking the words out. Yeah. And I just go deeper, anywhere from my anxiety to frustrations with past people, all the way down to like where I just had no energy anymore, and I just was like, okay, what else? I'm like digging. I'm like, what else is in there? And I'm like, and then I went to like grieving for my late mother and stuff, and by the end of it, I was like sweating and tearing, but holy cow, I could take deep breaths again. And I didn't even realize it. Like, I was just like, wow, like, I feel, like, open and, like, cleaned out.
Like, you released it all.
And it's like you were saying, it's like, you just start bottling stuff up. And I don't realize how much I bottle up, because I do it subconsciously. Okay? And people need to realize that. You bottling stuff up isn't just like, no, I don't want to talk about that. I'll handle it on my own, or I'll think about it some other time. That's one form of bottling it up. Yeah. But you'll do it subconsciously, just a mere like, okay, that's fine. You know, hey, let me go concentrate on this. Okay, that's fine. Okay, hey, let me go concentrate on this, and then it just keeps building. Yeah. But you don't give yourself an outlet. Next thing you know, you're screaming in a pillow for 20 minutes. For 20 minutes. Or you're singing it to the punching bag until
after beating it up.
After beating it up, and then you're like, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
but you know, you can't let yourself boil to that point. It's literally like a volcano. It's literally like, shaking a bottle of soda. It's gonna get out. It's gonna do it for you. Yeah. And it's going to do it in a way where you can't control it, and it starts affecting other people. And they don't deserve that. And you owe it to yourself to not put yourself or anyone else in that horrible situation. And it sneaks up on you. That's why I want to underline the word outlet, people. Find your outlet.
And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be automatically punching a bag or screaming into a pillow. Like some people
Make sure
have
you're punching a bag.
Right, yeah. Make sure no walls, no people, please.
Yeah, don't hurt your hands, please.
No, but I know other people like could, go for a run, go hiking outside, to get some fresh air, or even, drawing, painting your emotions out. Like there's so many different outlets out there that can release. And sometimes, like for example, me, there's times that I like to write. Mm-hmm. And since I was younger, like I would, I guess, journal, keep a little journal and just kind of write feelings at times. Mm-hmm. And then even if I don't tell that person, like, oh, today I had a bad day with this person, or like this happened with this person, even though I don't communicate it to that person, it's still kind of like releasing it and letting it out.
Yeah.
And when you say like, oh, bottling up, feelings could be different layers.
Just different ways.
Yeah,
of doing it. Like passive. I would say the word passive. Like you're passively bottling things up.
Yeah, and most of the time it could be because you're saying like, oh, it's fine. Like, I'll figure it out later, or I'll see what happens with this. And I think I do that a lot with people, or especially like people close to me, when, something bad happens or something disappointing happens most of the time. But it's just something that I try to keep control over it, I guess. And instead of keeping that control, I'm bottling it up. Like I'm thinking like, oh, it's fine. Like if I control my feeling about this, like I'm not even gonna think about it anymore.
Right, right.
And or if I don't react to it at that moment, like it's gonna go away. I'm not gonna think about it, or and when you say it comes back, it comes back fighting. It comes back punching.
It's like pokes you on the like it's just like excuse me, I'm still here. Like I'm still here. You know that, right? It's getting louder.
Yeah, and I started noticing that because at first it was, my friends told me like, you need to let it out. You need to let it out. Even if it's crying, even if it's screaming, if it's yelling, punching, like whatever you need to do, you need to let it out. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Like, why do I need to let it out? I'm fine. And then it comes to those little tiny moments. And I'll give you a perfect example. I was with my cousin in the car, and then Jordan was in the back, and I think he was like maybe 2. And we were driving, I think we were going to the East Lake Walmart, so we're driving that whole long way. And I am basically bottling things up from, I don't know when, and some small things happen. I think I opened the water bottle and gave it to Jordan. Obviously, he's small. He's not going to, do it. But I guess he put it to the side and it fell. Uh-oh. And it made a whole mess, and it's just water. And it broke me down. I'm like sobbing. And my cousin turns to me and she's like, are you okay? And she's like, it's just water. And I'm like, yeah, it's just water. But in reality, it was everything else.
It's everything else.
Yeah, that was going on. And then that one little tiny thing cracked me.
It's the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. And so after that time, I was like, okay, like that was, because it was really intense. Like, I mean, I didn't want to scare my kid because I'm like, he didn't do anything bad. Like, yeah, he's a kid. He's 2-year-old. He dropped water. It's water. It's fine. It's going to dry, and let alone it wasn't coffee. But it just broke me down. Yeah. And I think from then on, I started doing a little bit of outlet here and there, but I still haven't found that release. Mm-hmm. I keep telling myself like, oh, like with doing exercise, like I have, done a couple of exercises here and there at home, but it's not enough for the release.
Right.
And then I mentioned to you, like, I need to buy a punching bag too. And I'm like, maybe that's going to be enough. And in the community where I live, they hung a bag in the back of one of the trees. Uh-huh. And I passed by the other day, I was going around the garden, and I punched it a couple of times. And I was like, oh, this is nice. And I walked away, and I felt like I came back, and I punched it a couple more times.
You're like,
yeah, like I punched it, and then I walked away, and I was like, that wasn't enough. And I walked back to it, and I went, da-da-da. I was like, that felt good. And then I talked to one of the neighbors that hung it up, and he was like, yeah, I can give you some lessons if you want. And I'm like,
someone's all TikToking.
Right? I'm like, I just want to know that if it's okay if I could use it. And he's like, yeah, that's why I hung it up in the back, like so anybody can use it, just sanitize it obviously and all that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure, if I break it, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. But I really appreciated that too, because since I told you that I wanted to buy a punching bag, I'm like, they just hung one in the back, and he just said I could use it. I'm gonna start wrapping my arms with those.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Or my hands.
If it's a heavy bag, you need to be proper because you can really hurt yourself.
Yeah, because it doesn't bounce back. It doesn't bounce back.
It doesn't budge, and you'll go crunch.
Yeah, but I'm like, hopefully hopefully that helps me out.
Yeah.
And I just learned about that bag this week, actually. Like I said, I walked around and I saw it. So I was like, finally. So hopefully that's going to help. And I'll give you an update on that next time. But I thought it was
continued on that.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool because I kept telling myself, like, I'm going to buy a punchy bag, or I need a punchy bag, like, for my backyard, you know, and just kind of be back there and beating it up.
Absolutely.
Then now there's one hung up. So I'm like, oh, hello
it's
there.
Happening.
Yeah. So, and I feel like it's, because for me, it's a lot of frustration and a lot of anger. So I know that I need to punch something, or I know that like, even going for a run. Like,
yeah.
I know running because I really like running. I did cross country in high school, and then now I haven't found the time for it, but I know making time for things, you know, prioritizing, and that's could be one of my outlets as well. And I've gone for a run here and there around, like, my neighborhood, but I don't like it. I guess I like running in nature because of cross country.
Yeah.
So I've been going to, like, War Park.
Okay.
And, like, I'll just go running there. Those used to be, I think, the, like, scrimmages or whatever we had with, like, the cross country.
Oh, okay.
We did little tiny ones, and
yeah.
I got used to it there, but I think running and punching are my two outlets right now that have been helping me out, you know? I feel like I run away from my problems. Maybe that's why.
Maybe. I mean, it's one... So the key there is, like, let's analyze punching right now. The key to, like, things like punching a punching bag is it's not going anywhere, and you are free to go as far as you want. And I think the key is, and it's not just about an outlet for getting getting all that crap out of you. You can, for anybody, you can put a face to the bag. You can put, not to get morbid, but, like, you know what I mean? But, like,
don't mind
someone
if I do.
that's, bugging you and stuff like that, like, the bag that's what it's there for. And you just let it out. Now, the other thing it can do is quiet your mind. People like with me is, like, I have social anxiety. And you start... the noise just builds and builds and builds in your head. It's like that part in Bruce Almighty when, he's ignoring everyone's prayers and everyone's voices start clouding his ears. It's literally like that. It's just noise. Part of the exercise, whether it's running, cross country, I actually recommend doing it in nature because light pollution and us being surrounded in cement is not natural for human beings. So being in nature actually helps people mentally, I believe. But it's pushing your body, exercising your physical health, and pushing yourself. Let me tell you something. If I burn myself out on a heavy bag, whoever was bugging me, whoever ticked me off that day, or whatever's been going on, I don't give a damn anymore at the end because I am tired, I'm burnt, my mind's just like, shh, excuse me, bye. Okay?
Yeah.
It's like, who is this person? Who is so-and-so who decided to cut me off at the intersection? Who is so-and-so who decided to tell me how to live my life?
Yeah. Doesn't
matter anymore. What seemed to matter a lot at the time, especially if you're an Aries, especially at the time, I know me and Laura over here covering ourselves. You really start to realize that's not a big deal, and they are barely a part of your life. And they are not worth the time. And I want to bring up one of the quotes that one of my former coworkers, when I used to work at a golf course, he was a very, like, zen-y yoga kind of guy. He was a yoga instructor too. But he told me one thing, because one person ticked me off that day. And he pulled me aside, he's like, Ryan, never resonate with the enemy. Because as soon as you do, the enemy's winning. So that helped me because I would tell myself that because let's say someone at work keeps bugging the heck out of you. Someone at work decide, everyone has that one person who decides they know it all and they know your life. Instead of giving so much attention to that person and letting that person into your mind so much, you need to decide that person doesn't deserve your space. They are literally 0.1% of your life. And what they say really doesn't have any bearing or affects you in your things. You still got your family. You still got your close friends.
Yeah.
You still got your whole life ahead of you. That person is just noise. And so remember that. Don't resonate with them because guess what? They're winning. They want you to think about them.
Yeah.
I do want to get... You said you write a little bit, or like used to journal and things like that. And I remember in one of the previous episodes, it might have been with Sam, the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys were talking about journaling or writing it down, and how sometimes it doesn't really work for some people, and they kind of and some people think there's only one way to journal.
Oh yeah,
and they dismiss it, and I'm like, nah.
There's a lot of different ways.
There's different ways you can do it.
There's Dear Diary. There's Today I Woke Up.
Captain's Log, Start 8.
Right? Yeah, no, it's because there definitely is a lot of different ways to journal. There's days, I remember when I was in 8th grade. I mean, I've liked to write since I was young.
Mm-hmm.
And I really started doing that journaling. I think it was 7th or 8th grade. I don't know. Point is, it was an English class.
Mm-hmm.
And every day we would start the class with a writing prompt.
Okay.
Didn't matter what it was. It was just a random, the teacher would put it up on the board. You would get in, you open your journal, and just write. You could write 3 pages, half a page, 2 sentences, whatever you came up with.
As long as you got something.
Even if you started writing about the prompt,
mm-hmm.
and then went into like a whole different thing, it was fine. Like it was creative writing, just kind of write, but start with this, or if you don't want to, didn't matter. And I got so into them. I guess my teacher would like read them, and he didn't really grade them for like a grade. It was more of like that you were actually doing an exercise or you're writing about something, and not just like writing the same word over and over again.
Yeah.
And I remember that by the end of the year, I received a book from my teacher. And I was like, what is this? And he was like, this is the book that I use to put the writing prompts on there. And it was like 365 days of writing prompts, something like that. That's what the book was called. And I was like, oh, okay. He goes, yeah, like when I would read your journal, he's like, I was really invested in like the things that you wrote. He's like, because sometimes it was about the prompt and sometimes it was just like me kind of writing whatever I wanted. And he was like, I think you would quite enjoy this. And I was just like, oh, thanks. And he wrote in like a little like note. And then my other teacher from next door also wrote another little note. And I was like, that was nice, like it was a nice present. And it also introduced me into like writing. And so I've done writing here and there. I have so many journals that I start and then I lose them, and then I start another one and then I find the other one. I go back and forth, but sometimes I'm like, okay, this one's going to be about my emotions and like what I really don't want to tell people and what I actually feel. And so it's like a, dark notebook or something. It's just like a black notebook, like black like my soul. And then there's like a colorful one, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to write the happy days in here or like the happy moments, like sometimes I just write down random ideas,
mm-hmm.
things that I want to do in the future. I would like to do this. I would like to do that. It just depends on my mood, but it is an outlet that I have, I guess, that either it's my feelings, if it's my goals, if it's, like I said, happy days, like whatever it is. I even started a journal for Jordan when I was pregnant of him. I bought a book, and it's called There's Always a Silver Lining. And I think I had mentioned it to you because of when I wanted to start the podcast, we were trying to figure out a title.
I was like, wow, that went full circle.
Yeah, so that was why I wanted to do the silver lining kind of on the podcast, because, I mean, there's always a silver lining, to where bad, there's good, and what's good, there's bad. And there's also, I've been watching a lot of TV shows because that kind of, old TV shows that I've already watched, but I never finished, like the seasons. So they're not even on air anymore, but I'm just, watching them. Mm-hmm. And in one of them, I don't exactly remember the quote right now, and I wish I would have written it down, but it basically says how things always have to be in the middle. Like, no matter how good things are going or how bad things are going, everything always goes back to the middle, to like something steady. Mm-hmm. When things are not so bad, but they're not so good. It's just kind of, you're kind of riding through life. Yeah. And it made me realize that a lot of times, like, when I really have bad days, I journal more than when I have like good days. And it's more because I'm enjoying the life. I'm actually living in that, moment. Yeah. And then with writing down like my feelings, it's more of like my therapy, because I don't like expressing myself to friends because I feel like it's an extra weight on them, or even when, sometimes they feel like, oh my God, like, poor Laura, like she goes through this and then she goes through this and then she goes through this, and then people want to help me or like reach out, and I'm like, oh no, like sometimes I just want you to listen. Sometimes I just need to talk about it, and at times I feel bad, so I'm just like, I'm just gonna write in my journal, you know, today was a bad day and thank you, you know. But I think that if you find the right how would you say it? Because I don't want to say like find the right book on like prompts, but like when people want to write or begin to use journaling, you know, there's no right or wrong way, but starting with writing prompts, I think helps you into that journal to see what journaling could be about, you know, and without having it to be like, oh, it has to be about a specific way or a certain outline.
It doesn't have to be Dear Diary. It doesn't have... Journaling, literally, as cliche as it sounds, could be whatever you make it. It could be doodling. It's just a way to get what's inside out. Yeah, it doesn't have to be Dear Diary. I know someone who I will not name, but they expressed to me that they like to write poems.
Oh, okay.
And they would just write poems of whatever they're feeling at the moment. And this person was going through some serious dark times. And, you know, she would just write poems, and then what she would do is she, for whatever reason, what it did for her, but she would take out what she felt inside, put it in a poem, and then when she was done reading it, she would burn it.
Okay.
And that's just how she got things out. And that's an outlet. That's one way you can do it. You can do poems.
I've written letters and burned them.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done that plenty of times. Just kind of written a letter. I've actually written letters to myself as well.
Oh, yeah?
Like, kind of telling me, like, girl, get your stuff together. Get your stuff, put it in a backpack, and get it together. No, I've written letters to my mom, to my brothers, to my grandma, to my dad. Like, I guess when I was younger, I went through a phase where I wrote letters, and then I didn't want to deliver them. I just burned them, and it felt like a release of letting it out.
Something about that, and if that helps you, my sole goal for at least one person out there is, if that helps you, do it, because you gotta get it out.
It's not the fire sign in us.
I know, right? It's not the fire sign. I got this journal. No one's can see it, but I got it. I got this journal a long time ago, and back when my grandfather passed away, I don't even remember why I got this journal. It was my mom recommended me getting a journal. And I remember, like, my grandfather was like, he was the only one I called hero. Like, he passed away, and he passed away right around when I first met, you know, now my wife. And at some point, my mom and my stepdad one time, because I was just like, man, sometimes I wish I could just talk to... Oh, I was going to join the Navy. I was planning on joining the military, and my grandfather was like a 21-year vet.
Wow.
And I was like, and I remember just going, I wish I could talk to him. You know, I wish I could talk to him and get his guidance and advice about this, because he would know. And I never expected this to come out of my mom or my stepdad's mouth, but they were like, try to. And I was like, what? And then so I then decided to pick up this journal, and I decided to start trying to write a letter, treat it as writing a letter to my grandfather. And talking, and then it just started out by like just talking about what was going on, because we had just found out that, you know, I was going to have, you know, my son, stuff like that. So I was going through a bunch of stuff, and I was like super lost, like, what am I going to do? Because I'm so not ready. And I would just start doing that. And so sometimes journaling is writing a letter to an idol, to someone who maybe not with you anymore. It's something to connect, and if it's whatever it means to you. That didn't last very long for me. It's just I didn't have the steam to keep going. But I'm a very musical person, so like I said before, that one person would write poems. What I did was I just started, you know, writing songs. There's that saying, music is what feelings sound like.
Well, at the same time, your writing transitioned into writing songs too.
Yes, it's true. It started like with your traditional kind of journaling. And how can I make this more meaningful? I was like, well, what am I going to turn this book? I just got this book. I was like, what am I going to do with it?
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'll make it into a songbook. And it was kind of like lighthearted. I was like, I'll just make it into a songbook. And then I started writing, just random things. I have these little like half little things in here. But then there came a point where like I remember like once I started writing a song and I had the music in my head of how I would like it to sound like, then I switched it to like a new gear. And next thing I know, I got through a whole page in a blink of an eye. Started writing these songs about how whatever I felt in the moment. Some of them like were pretty like just bare bones. It could be as low as like life sucks, whatever. But it's like a start. Yeah. But then like you pointed out, like my journaling evolved into songwriting. My songwriting further evolved. And when I would I started noticing when I would finish writing a song, the amount of release that came with that was so substantial. Because I don't know why. It's like, I don't know about you Harry Potter fans out there. Cool. But it's like, if you remember, I forgot which movie it was, but it's like where Dumbledore, like, he takes his memories out of his head.
Yeah, I think it's from the Half-Blood Prince.
Yeah, he takes his memories out of his head, like, with his wand, and they're like this, like stringy kind of thing. That's literally what it's like for me with my feelings when I'm writing a song. It's like I'm taking it out and putting it on paper. And it's the only way I can do it. Whether me talking about it versus me talking about it, writing it, regular journal, it doesn't do it for me. It has to, I have to reach that raw emotion inside. And we all have it. There's a point in time where you'll tap that raw emotion. Whether some people call it your soul, some people call it your spirit.
I don't have a soul.
Yeah. This is your raw, raw part of you where you are like, this is literally like unmasking everything and this is pure Laura, this is pure Ryan. Music for me and writing is the only way I can tap into that and get it out. And it's like the bridge and to get the energy from that across to the real world, to the outside. And
that's the best kind of music because we have so much music that really touches us too from our favorite artists.
Well, and that's and this is what I want to encourage people, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about. More often than not, every person I know loves music in some sort of way. And because it touches you in some sort of way, it goes through you like energy. It's like a drug. It gets you involuntarily bobbing your head, tapping your foot, wherever it goes. You start singing. Like, I don't, like, if people at work would just be like, Ryan, sing. I'd be like, excuse me, no thank you, I'm out of here. But I have my music going on, it just comes out. And it just happens.
Yeah.
Something is very special about that. And the fact that, and it's so powerful that it taps into you. I remember, I think I shared a post to the Fostering Growth Instagram, and I remember because I was cleaning the house and a song came on that I haven't heard in years, and literally I stopped what I was doing, and I swear it almost felt like the scenery around me changed because it was like bringing me literally back to how I felt when I would listen to this song, and I was just like, what other thing has that kind of power? Where you just hear it and the world stands still for a second.
Yeah.
And it brings you back to any kind of memory you can think of. It connects it to that. There is that. It's powerful to do that. It's powerful enough to heal. it's like, it's almost like the more you think about it, you're like, man, why don't people talk more about this? Like, it's crazy, like what music can do.
Yeah.
So what I would like to encourage people is, if regular journaling isn't doing it for you, if maybe you can't afford a punching bag, maybe you can't, maybe it's not safe to go running outside. That's all right. There are other things you can do to get that outlet. For me, it's music. And for a lot of artists out there, it could be painting. You know, it could be, you know, your classic art of painting. It could be sculpting. It could be anything.
Crafting, making things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are, it's the form, you are learning how to bridge your inside world and to get whatever you need to get out of you. Instead of you just being a shell. Because then if you were just a shell, well, then you're going to start to deteriorate involuntarily. And then that's when the bad stuff happens. And that's when you start thinking about things you normally wouldn't think about. And
you literally hit rock bottom.
You hit rock bottom, and then it feels like you're just it's crazy. Like, you know, you hit places where you just don't have words for anymore. And we all hit that point.
Yeah.
You know, and people, it's okay. It sucks that sometimes we have to get to that point to wake up and go, wait a minute. Because then once you hit that point, you have a fork in the road. You have a choice. You have a choice of going, wait a minute, I hate this feeling, and I'm going to do something about it for my sake, for my family's sake, for my friend's sake. There's something that I could do here, you know, and those are sometimes those people who do post on Instagram. It's not that they're looking for attention. That's them reaching out. That's them having the courage to go. Sometimes that's them having the courage to go, I need help. Because it's so hard to ask for help sometimes.
Yeah. And
so that's what that could be. And you don't know. A lot of people, it's like that. A lot of people start thinking like, oh, this person, I got this person figured out. You know, once they act a certain way for one day. Maybe they're having a bad day, you know, and they're like, oh, well, I figured you out. You know, you're a jerk. Okay, first of all, there's 20-something odd years of experiences that you have no clue about. And this is why they say, you know, be kind always, because you just don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know that there's 20 years, maybe there's 20 years of abuse. You don't know, like in your case with what your history with your family and going through the foster system. You don't know, like, if you've had, you know, in my case, you know, been abandoned by multiple people that were extremely close, whether it was their fault of their own or not. You just don't know. You don't have people figured out.
Yeah.
And we need, I think, if everyone would take a step back and acknowledge, like, hey, there might be something deeper going on here, honestly, the world would be a better place.
Oh, definitely.
You know.
We were talking about the world being a better place, I mean.
That's a whole other thing.
Right? No, it's because it's true. Like, if people actually did, you know, put themselves on other people's shoes, you know. I think there's, like, a quote that says, like, you know, take a couple steps in my shoes, or, like, you know, or put yourself in some other people's shoes and, like, walk. Like, maybe you're not even going to make it a mile in their shoes. Like, you don't know what they're going through, and you don't even know, or, like, if they are going through something, you're like, oh, that's fine. Like, if that was happening to me, like, I would do this. And it's like, you don't know until you get to that point what you would do. You can't just say, like, oh, if I was them, I would do this, and, like, things would get better. And it's like, no, because, I mean, at the same time, maybe they have tried to make it better, but you don't know the whole story. And I think with me, when I share things too, I know people would tell me, like, oh, like, well, I think you should do this. And I try not to tell them anything about, like, don't tell me what to do.
Right.
Because I know they do it on a good intention. But there's times that they tell me, like, you should just do this, you should just do that. And in my head, I'm like, girl, I wish I could.
Yeah.
I really wish I could just cut them off, or I really wish I could just do this, but I can't. You know, it goes deeper than that. And sometimes people don't share how bad or how much they are going through.
Right.
Even just mentioning like, oh, you know what, like I'm going through this because of, I mean, I don't know, like my mom is sick and, you know, things are just not good at the house. But it could be, you know, a lot of other different things. You know, it could be worse, or it could be like, oh yeah, my mom's just sick and you know, things are going bad. Like, you never know exactly behind the scenes of the things people go through, and it really sucks when people are judgmental, or they're just like, oh, like look at them being like that. And I guess that's kind of how it feels with my life. I mean, you know, because I've shared a lot more now, but my life is like a little roller coaster, but sometimes it goes down, 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 down.
Yeah, it just keeps dropping.
Yeah, and it's hard to lift myself back up from that, or to keep myself up, because it's like you get up and it beats you back down, and then you get up and it beats you back down.
Yeah.
And so when I share it with you guys, it's like, I'm going through this, and you guys listen. You guys don't tell me what to do. You guys don't tell me, well, I would do this. Like, it's more of like, well, you're going through this, but hey, like, I know you can do it. Like, it's fine. We're here to support whatever you need. We're here. And that makes me so much, like, feel so much better than for somebody to be like, oh my God, I got you. You know what you got to do? You got to do this, and this, you know? Because, like, I don't know. I don't like telling people what to do, especially like with my brothers. They told me that I'm bossy because I tell them what to do. But I'm like, no, it's more of the experience that I've had compared to yours. I'm like, I'm not saying that this is what you have to do, but I'm giving you that advice of what to do. You know, there's a difference between giving advice and telling people like, if you would do this, it would be better.
Right.
You know?
But yeah, I have to, you know, that's something I had to work on a lot. It's like the way my mind works, it's like, if there's a problem, and I think this is a lot of guys, if there's a problem, the first thing I want to do is fix it, so there isn't a problem anymore. So that's just how we naturally are, right? And I was one of those people who's like, well, listen, you should do this, you should do that, because I'm like, okay, you're hurting. We got to get this to stop.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can't have you hurting. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where it's just like, look, I have a history of like, you know what, if I don't really know you, I can care less about what's going on with you or who you are. But if you're my friend, I'm like, okay, I'm going into battle with you, and we're gonna, you know, we're taking down the world. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. So it's like, I instantly jump into this, like, I used to instantly jump into this, like, you know, like, nosedive out of the sky to, like, try to, like, correct a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Now, part of that, and this goes back to what we were saying, when people bottle things up, is, and Laura's very sheepish right here.
What?
People out there, I've done this, and you might subconsciously be doing this. You concentrate on everyone else's problems so you don't have to concentrate on your own.
Shots fired. No, and it's funny you say that, because earlier I remembered of when, well, it's an Alice in Wonderland quote where it's like, I often like give advice, I do solemnly giving advice, but often I don't like follow it myself, and I do that a lot. Like, I want to help people and I give them advice, or I try to be supportive, or even those like affirmation for them, like, it's okay, things are okay, like, I'm here, but then I don't do that for myself, or I don't follow my own advice, and then that's also kind of like a bad for me, like in my in my experience, bringing that up, it's like you've tried to help me so many times. I mean, you've helped me. I don't want to say you tried, because you have helped me, and Tony has helped me too, and even when we spend time together, when we go to the zoo, even being here at dinner at
Tony's
your house.
my wife, by the way. Tony's my wife.
Sorry. But it's like, it's nice to be around you guys, because you guys don't necessarily are solving my problems. And not necessarily I'm not leaving my problems behind, but I'm able to talk to you about things
Right.
that I've gone through, and then still have that good time and that good talk, and then get something out of it from it, you know?
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you solved my problem, but talking with you, you know, especially like it's like, oh, I can tell that you always want to help and you're always trying to find that solution. But sometimes it's like, oh, it's not about finding a solution. It's just about, like, you know, hanging out and talking. And that's why I'm like, it's nothing that you do something bad. The way you react to things is, you know, your own personal way.
Yeah.
And so when I say about me not wanting to, or like not saying like, oh, like if I would do this or if you do that, you know, you telling me you have to do this or do that. No, it's more of like I react to it this way and you react to it that way, but it still works, you know?
Right. So what I would do, what I have started doing and how I've changed how I used to nosedive like that is first I would stop and identify is okay, like for you, for example, it's like, is Laura looking for a solution? That's what I need to stop and take a step back. Is she looking for a solution right now, or is she just trying to get this out? And I know one of our good friends, she sent me a post one time saying, you know, it's like things would be, or no, it was a story, like it was the story of this couple, and this husband was saying, before my wife would start ranting or telling me what happened at work or whatever, the first thing I would say is stop. Oh. Do you want a solution, or do you just want me to hear you out? And he was like, my wife would tell me, oh, I just want to be heard out. Yeah. Then I knew what to do.
Yeah.
Because, and if everybody would, you do that. Now I started taking that upon myself. Anybody who's like, comes to me, and I don't know, I have this weird effect on people where I don't know what it is. If it's just the vibe I give off or whatever, but more often than not, even if I barely know someone, they just start letting it out. And then all of a sudden, I thought we were just we're acquaintances. Next thing I know, I'm learning what's going on, and I'm like, whoa, all right. Like, not that I'm like okay, if you're comfortable with that, but like, it just happens, and I've had to take a step back and like, is this
and not want to dive into every single person's life.
And some people, like, yeah, you know, you gotta, first of all, you need to focus on yourself and put yourself, because guess what? If you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of your family or your friends? Because guess what? Your friends, I'm assuming, this is an assumption, care for you too. So if you're malnourishing yourself and neglecting yourself, that's not good for anybody, and nobody wants you to suffer. You know what I mean? So this kind of goes back. Now I'm getting tangled here. Sorry. But this goes back to like what I was saying. It's like I used to try to be a part of everybody else's issues and help them, so I didn't have to focus on myself because it was too uncomfortable for me. And it's like, you know, it's like that saying, it's like, before you try to clean everyone else's room up first, check if your room's clean. So, but yeah, like with you, it's just like, okay, is Laura looking for a solution? Or does she need to be heard out? And there's been times where I've gotten better at picking and choosing when to offer up solutions or when things like that. You know, sometimes it's awkward for me because if I just go, yeah. Like for me, I'm like, I feel like personally, I'm like, I'm not giving you anything.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, like you're saying, that's all you need. That's what you're looking for. I am giving you what you want. You know, your friends are giving you what you want if they just listen and just to know that there's something powerful when you have that friend, just to know where you can just like, you know, basically show them your guts and be like, look, this is what's going on and it's terrible. And, you know, this is how I feel, and you know, you're in tears, knowing that friend is just gonna go, okay, and still be there and not judge you. Trusting that friend to not judge you. Trusting that friend to just go, it's okay. Is there anything I can do to help you? Is there something you're looking for? And for people who do want to help people, that's a key thing to think about. Does this person want your solutions? or is this person just looking for your ear? And if they're just looking for your ear, guess what? All you gotta do is sit there and listen. And you are doing the world for them. Because it really does. And stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, right there is a bunch of different ways you can get an outlet out. And there's ways for you to be a more positive and let's say a productive outlet for maybe someone else that you care for. Let's say if you're a husband out there and your wife is going through a lot of hard times and you just don't know what to do. Let me tell you, it's a terrible, horrible, horrible feeling when your loved one, your other half is hurting and you can't do anything. It's so agonizing. And you just feel like you got to do something. Sometimes all you have to do is listen. And so hopefully this will help some of you guys or gals. If your significant other is just hurting, your best friend is hurting, your brother, your sister, anybody is hurting, try not to, shove solutions down their throat because you're really not helping. You're filling their already complex and crowded mind up with other noise. Just let them release.
And sometimes it does feel like you're not making their feelings like valid because you're already finding the solutions.
Right.
Like, oh, like that's easy. Just do this, or like it's an easy fix, or something.
Which is the worst thing you could tell people, that it's easy.
And so maybe in their mind it's like, well, like I'm going through this and that's not a solution for me. Even though it might be a solution for you, it might not, be a solution for them.
Right.
But at the same time, once you listen enough, then you learn to differentiate, like you mentioned. I sometimes talk and talk and talk because I am a chatterbox with the right people. Like,
guilty.
Right? Like with the right people.
Yeah.
And you've seen me at work sometimes that I can be very talkative or like not really talk at all or like keep to myself and just kind of do my work. And then even sometimes too, when I'm quiet, people are like, something's wrong. What's wrong? And I'm like, nothing. I'm just working and listening to my music, or something. Or like maybe I am in my own mind, trying to organize and plan my life because every day it seems like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean like something's wrong with somebody's quiet or not. Like my example of being a chatterbox. But other times, like, I just vent. Like, I'll just talk and say things. And how my mind sometimes goes from one to another and the other and the other. And then it's just like word vomit. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm so sorry, Ryan. Like, I just needed to let it out. And you're like, oh, that's fine. Yeah. I went through 23 different topics, but I let it all out, And so that's why I'm like, sometimes I do, like, just need a friend to, like, listen. I have called my best friend at, like, 3 a.m, 12 a.m. It doesn't matter what time. And I'm like, hi, I really need to just talk to somebody. And she's like, it's okay. What's up? And I'm just like, da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, hi, it's okay. I'm so sorry you're going through that. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to let you go back to sleep now. It's fine. You don't have to say anything, And so it makes me feel like I bother people. But then now I feel more comfortable with the selection of people to be like, oh, okay, I know I can call them or talk to them at any time. And they are actually there to listen.
Right. And that goes back to what we were saying before. You got to find that circle that that that's what they're there for. All right? Like with you and me, you can go on for an hour about what's going on. And that's great for me because for me personally, I'm like, I take it as a privilege because I look at it as like, Laura trusts me enough to share this with me. And I know there's very select amount of people she does that. And that's something special. And so that's how I look at it. I don't look at it as a burden. I don't look at it quite the opposite. You know what I mean? You're willing to go to a place with me. And, that's something special that, some people should really think about. If your loved one or your closest friends are coming to you like that, I view it personally, I truly view it as a privilege because it takes a lot of strength to do that. Like when you first asked me to help you with the podcast, like I already knew or had a feeling that you were kind of like a do-it-yourself kind of person.
I was like,
and
just tell me what to do.
Yeah,
I'll do it.
I'll do it. Like, and you're just like, you know what? I don't need nor want anyone's help and stuff like that. And that's just what I had because I knew I was a lot less close to you back then. I was just like, and so the day you just popped up at work and you were like, hey, by the way, I never asked for help, but I'm going to ask for help this time. Can we do this podcast together? Because I know you used to do one. Right. And I was just like,
who are you?
I was like, you want to do a podcast with me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and stuff. So, but you know what I mean? Like, I was like, that's what took me back. I was like, wow, like, she took a step forward. And I was like, hell yeah.
And it definitely, honestly, I know what you mean because even with me, it was a do it myself. I can do this. I talked to my brother. I actually just told him too. I was like, you were supposed to be my co-host. Like, you were supposed to be my co-pilot. And then he's like,
I thought we were friends, homie.
Right? And he's like, and I was like, well, you can be my co-host for like the foster things, you know? Like, at least I'll have episodes of like to talk about foster.
Yeah, you have like segments.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, can you help me with that? Or, you know, to
like,
not.
yeah, just a little bit.
And so reaching out, like I mentioned to you, you know, reaching out to my friend about like the social media and like reaching out to you about editing and things like that. Like I'm able to reach out for help a lot more often now than before. And all it took was this podcast, which is really weird, like, you know, to take that first step. And I remember I talked to you about it and I was like, yeah, just tell me what to do. I'll do it. And then after a while I was like, I can't do it by myself. But then I was like, how do I ask for the help? Like, and I was like, you know what, just ask. Like, just ask for it. Just be like, hey, I want to do this, but I don't think I can figure this out. Like, can you help me with that? And you were automatically on board. And I was like, okay, yes, step one. And then as soon as we started getting into it and I did my first episode and then, you know, my friends started helping me, I'm like, you know what? I got this. Like, as long as I have this support circle around me, like, we can do anything. What's going to take over this? and it started feeling like that. Yeah. And so I've opened myself a lot more, even with my close friends. Like, I have my close friends, but I never even asked them for help. And it's like, okay, you know what? Like, I need to open up a little bit more. It doesn't necessarily mean that I need to find a hero. It's more of like, no, everybody's here to help me and support me. Yeah. Like, take advantage of that, you know, and of like, take the actual help. And it was a big step for me, to be honest. But I'm really glad I did it because it's gotten us to this point, like in our friendship and my friendship with my other friends. And then, you know, learning things about my brother that I didn't know, that I'm like, what the heck? Like, you know, he's my brother and we didn't grow up together and we never have those talks, those like heart to hearts. Right. And then now having those heart to hearts and like learning more about him, like it makes me realize like, wow, like I did miss out on a lot and I don't want to miss out on anything more. Right. And so it's brought us more together, you know, with my friendship, with my brother. Like I wish I could do it with my mom, but I don't think this is the right time yet. But I mean, hopefully, you know, one day, because I've realized how much this podcast has helped me to open up, to share, and, you know, ask for help.
Yeah, it's, you know, I can easily see how every episode was, you know, giving you new perspectives. And just your roundtable episode, just having all your friends there and all of you taking turns diving into these subjects and answering these deep questions, all gave you chances to, you know, get closer and get a little stronger, to understand each other a little bit more. And then, you know, with your brother, understanding him a little bit more, realizing what's been missed. And now, you know, now that you're cognizant of that, you guys can work on, you know, catching up on that aspect of things. Every conversation here, and this is for anybody, it's all to help give a different perspective, help realize that, you know, no, nobody's alone in this, okay? You might be alone in your house, but there's a whole other world out there. And, you know, the more it all starts with just talking about it. It all starts someone taking that step out. And, you know, I'm really happy that you decided to take this step forward.
I know, definitely. And like I've mentioned to you so many times, but I'm really, really appreciate all the help and support that you've given me, not just through the podcast, but like as friends. I mean, we have come such a long way from really not even. I think we started talking, thanks to Sandy. I think it was mostly like from then, and then we started
like really talking,
yeah,
like actually talking. Because I remember I met you. I was just like, I met you the most formal way possible. I was like, "What is your name?" My name is
Laura.
What is your name? My name is Ryan. Okay.
We work in the same building.
Cool.
Cool.
I didn't never seen you before because you're
short.
You're
not on my eyesight level.
You're one position and I'm a different position. Okay, bye-bye. But
no, yeah, and definitely now we're like, hey, come and dinner to my house. I'll get the wings.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm just all like,
Yeah.
But all right, well, yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just, thank you so much for letting me be a part of it and kind of like taking the driver's seat, check this out. We're going places.
It's been a wild ride, and I just can't wait to just keep going. I know that it's the consistency that's not really there, but
life happens, people.
I know,
life happens. All right, we're sorry it's been a month, but trust me, we are very aware, and we
okay.
I bug Laura sometimes. I'm like, hey,
I
still work for you, right?
Right. I mean, I try. No, but thanks everyone. I mean, this has been a really great episode, first ever with Ryan, and I hope there's many more to come.
I love it.
And remember that you can always find Fostering Growth on our social media. Our Instagram is fostering.growth.pod. Our Twitter is at foster_growth with 2 H's. And Facebook. Remember, search for Fostering Growth, and you can add us as friends, or also on our Facebook page with the same name of Fostering Growth. So feel free to go and like and follow.
We would love to hear what you thought about this episode, and remember, if you'd like to share some of your experiences on the podcast or have an idea or topic for us to talk about, please feel free to send an email to fostering.growth.pod@gmail.com. We are on different platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, all the big ones. And if you could leave a review, it would be super helpful for us, and we could even read it on the air. And trust me, people, we would love to hear what you think and any ideas that you can give us.
Yes, and to be honest, thank you everyone for all the support. We love you all dearly. Thank you so much. And remember that some days it storms and some days it shines, but this is how flowers grow. Bye!
Bye!